Our guest today is Megan McCormick, and she opens up about her journey of self-growth. Originally coming from up north, Megan had a childhood friend that struggled with depression, and she thought, what are the odds that I'd have the same thing? She's here to tell us about her journey from high school to university and to finally becoming a successful health advocate.
Thanks for tuning in, guys, and today we have a chance to talk to a passionate advocate of physical, mental, and social health, Megan McCormick. Megan has finished her Masters of Public Health and has found herself drawn to promoting a healthy lifestyle in all realms. She runs a blog called Mastering Health, which focuses on promoting and empowering individuals to nurture their health and well-being. Thanks for joining us today, Megan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I think you said it well. I had read a blog, Mastering Health, that kind of came as a passion project during my graduate degree. I started off in kinesiology and didn't really know where I wanted to go, but kind of along the way I found out that public health was my passion interest instead of being reactive with things like physiotherapy and sports medicine. Health promotion was a way to kind of empower people to take health into their own hands. So started the blog, and now I'm working in school health promotion, which is really where I want to be.
Oh, excellent. So what were your goals as a student then, kind of starting the journey from
I went into kinesiology literally just kind of as a jock. I was a hockey player and played. I got to live away from home in Village, so I applied just wanting to stick with sports. So I started kines, and I thought physio was kind of what I wanted to do. So I shadowed physiotherapy and thought it was really monotonous, really boring. I thought about sports medicine, and then I shadowed a track and field meet, and it was, again, like sprained ankles and things like that. And then I thought about strength and conditioning, so I did a practicum, and I was shadowing some players and got to shadow some trainers that were working with the Calgary Flames, and it was really interesting, but it wasn't maybe the environment I wanted to stay in for my entire career, and not maybe the picture I wanted painted of people. So then I did my last practicum, like fourth year, about to graduate, still like no direction, and did a practicum with kids doing health promotion in school, so nutrition, physical activity, and like my heart just sank, and I found out public health was a degree and a graduate program, and yeah, the rest is history.
Oh, I see. So that's kind of where it took you on this journey where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Did you always see yourself as having a blog, or is that something that just kind of started recently?
So I'm like weirdly private, so I actually have like 5 blogs.
Oh, I see.
And I've had them for so many years. So they were all like private ones that like I would meet people on the internet and make friends that way, but nobody in my real life knew about them. So I had like a poetry one and a travel one, and it was something I've always thought about kind of publishing and putting out there, and I've always wanted to be a writer, and so it's been like a slow growing passion. And then when I got into grad school, I thought, okay, I need to kind of make this legit and, you know, put myself out there. So it's still a growing process of, okay, I need to be okay with putting myself out there and showing my face and putting my name behind all my writing, but I've been doing it for quite a while, actually.
So it sounds like it was was that initially one of your goals, to try to kind of step out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there, as you described it?
I don't know if it was like an intentional goal, but it's something that's definitely come along the way that I'm growing into.
Yeah.
I love sharing things, and I love watching other people do those things, and I know I can do it myself, but it's just that kind of hesitation as if, am I good enough to be sharing this, or are people interested in it? So I'm trying to push myself and think maybe they are.
Definitely. Well, it sounds like you went through quite a bit of a journey in terms of you didn't know exactly where you were heading first, and then you found your passion and what sounds like in one sudden moment in the end of your school year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I feel like things definitely fell into place.
And what about your job? So what do you work at?
I work with Ever Active Schools, so it's a provincial organization around school health promotion. That's kind of my like big spiel that I can put off right away, but I do a bunch of different things. I do a lot of school presentations to teachers, so most of my work is teaching teachers how to embed health.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A healthier place.
And how did you find that job? How did that catch your interest?
Yeah, so I think I've always had this interest in school health. Even within kines and going through school, I had a high school guidance counselor tell me, like, you know, don't really aim for the stars. You know, university's not in your path. You know, look out for college. That's kind of your thing. going through my degree and working hard for kines and then getting into school, I've always kind of taken that with me, that school can really make or break you, and what we tell our students and what we empower them really stays with them. Obviously that stayed with me for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So I want to just, show that you can work beyond what your limits are set at.
No, that's understandable. So what's your day-to-day life like?
So it's a whole variety of things. So a lot of presentations to teachers, a lot of resource development, and a lot of traveling as well. So we do promotion all across the province, and then we're kind of expanding to Northwest Territories, which is my home territory.
Oh, excellent. So you're hoping to eventually maybe move on to there?
Not move on. It's a place I couldn't live. I can go back to permanently, but it has a place in my heart. So I get to go back there. I've been 3 times this past year to work with smaller communities there.
Oh, I see. Excellent. So something that I was curious about is actually in terms of what are some of the most common things you get asked by the readers of your blog?
A lot of it is just around self-care. I think we all know what self-care is, and sometimes it's baths, and sometimes it's taking time for ourselves, but a lot of time it's just self-awareness that we're not even including that in our lives. So I try and give realistic examples of what I do, and I'm not perfect by any means, but I have the knowledge and the awareness to know when I'm not doing it. So take the time to kind of slow down and fit in small routines and small ways to take care of yourself.
So has a lot of this sharing with individuals and giving them these lessons, has it actually taught yourself as well how to take care of your own health and your own body?
Yeah, it definitely makes me more reflective, because I'm writing a post and taking photos for all these things, and I have to embody it more than if we're just talking about it. But it's just made me more thankful, and I love going back to old posts and reading my blog posts. I do like a yearly roundup on my birthday of things I've learned throughout the year, and reading those are so special for me to go back. So, if nobody reads the blog, that's fine, but it's a nice keepsake for me to have at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you still running all your other blogs as well?
Kind of on and off. Yeah.
If you have some time.
Yeah.
Have you found, obviously there'll be a lot of struggles and challenges in your new job as well as running a blog and activities that you're doing. What have been some of the main challenges that you have faced, and how do you usually overcome your stress and these things that you face? Yeah,
so I've been a student for 20 years, and it's this past year that I finally have finished school and I've gone into the working world, and there's just as many stressors, and especially living alone and trying to take care of myself and keep a household running. I have so many stressors, and I think I'm somebody that carries my stress, and I love saying yes to people, and I love doing errands for people and going above and beyond. But stress, it's like the basics. It's like getting enough sleep. It's like drinking enough water and not over caffeinating. It's like making sure you're exercising every day or getting outside and just those things. And if I keep a little tick box in my journal, and if I'm not doing the basics and I need to cut something back, if I get the basics, then usually I'm doing okay. Oh,
excellent. And then have you found that there are any struggles that you had in terms of people reaching out to you ever, and then opening up some sort of deep issues that they're having and asking for your help?
I have a lot of really great friends who are very fortunate that can open up to me.
Yeah.
But it's like that two-way street. So I've definitely shared with them, and they know my struggles, and having depression for a long, long time and overcoming that, especially within a school sense, is so difficult. So it's a two-way street. So I open up to them and they open up to me, and we're able to find solutions that way, which is really helpful. It's always important to talk to somebody.
Absolutely. So out of your sort of toolbox of things that you have to recommend to individuals, whether it be through your work, recommend to teachers and working in different programs, or through your blog, what would you say is one of the most used recommendations that you have for individuals?
We do a lot of teaching around social emotional learning, so how to teach kind of those the relationship and communication and self-awareness pieces to kids. But it's so important for adults to have them, especially just to be functioning in everyday life. So going back to the very basics, it's self-awareness. So if you're not self-aware that you have aches or pains, or you're feeling tired, or all those things that you kind of think are okay, you think it's okay to be tired throughout your workday, having self-awareness to say, okay, what's actually going wrong with me, or what's going on here, kind of stepping back and analyzing the situation. So self-awareness, I think, is the best part, and then you can actually tackle it and see what the problem is.
Yeah, absolutely. I had one thought when I was looking through your blog, and I'm not quite sure exactly why it came about, but I know a lot of individuals find it really difficult to actually to reach out and ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they like to go to the websites that will help them out, to help them out on their own. How do you think, so for example, something that I'm thinking about is, let's say somebody is interested in trying to get in better shape, but they might be afraid of reaching out to a trainer or a nutritionist because of maybe they're just a different point in their life and they don't feel like they're ready to start. Do you have any recommendations in terms of for regular people or for professionals to overcome that sort of challenge of reaching out and get help and make their own health and well-being better?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of barriers to reaching out to professionals. There's so many like power dynamics, whether it's a doctor and a patient, whether it's a teacher or a student. So usually people go to the internet, they go to their peers, they go to their family members. So hopefully they're accessing proper information, evidence-based information. But I would just say find a safe space. So if that's a friend, hopefully you can maybe reach out to a professional that way with a friend. But finding a safe space first before going to the harder barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you find now that, I know you've had quite a bit of a journey in terms of changing of goals since you're a student and you come out, do you find that they're still changing in terms of what you want to see in the long term?
Yeah, I have no idea what my life has in store. I would love to know. I'm a planner and I love looking ahead and I hate surprises. But if I think back 10 years to my life and if I went to Medicine Hat College for a sports massage, which I thought I was going to do, if my life didn't take all these turns to bring me to Calgary, to bring me to Edmonton, to meet a friend, to go on a trip, I would not be in this spot, and this is the best spot I could be in. So I have no idea what the next 10 years hold, but I know that they're probably better than I can imagine. And everything works out how it's supposed to. Your life kind of weaves its own web. So that's encouraging, but there's a part of me that would love to get a glimpse of the future.
See. It sounds like you're just sort of encouraging everybody to embrace whatever's coming.
Yeah.
And then
and appreciate what's happening right now. Yeah. So we're only this age once, and it's pretty cool. So
then if you had to sort of, for individuals listening out there, if you had to leave them with one specific lesson and something that you have found helps individuals the most, what would that be?
I would say take in the moment, take in what's happening today, this week, this month. Find out what self-awareness means to you. Find out what it feels like to be in your body, what sleep works for you, how much water you need, literally the basics, how you can keep yourself alive. And that's your baseline. If there's any changes, that's when you can reach out to somebody and seek for help, but really self-awareness and appreciate what you have right now.
Absolutely. What inspired you to go into that and focus on those particular aspects?
I think it's been an organic process since it started 3 years ago. So I had probably more recipes back then and was trying to be a classic health blog and do a little bit of everything and not have a niche or not stick in one lane. But you can only write what you're really feeling. You can only kind of authentically go in a path that is of interest in your life and what's going on. So it's kind of melded towards more self-care, more mental health, more of what I'm doing at work and more what I'm really passionate about, slowing down, taking things in, taking care of myself, taking care of my space, and all those things. So it's been really organic.
Have you had any personal experiences or any of your past, just in general, your past experiences that have led you to go this direction as well?
I think it's just come from what I've known, and I feel like I'm always better articulated when I'm writing. I love to overthink, and I love to kind of question things in my head, so I'll always be the quiet one in the room and think of my answers before I speak. So if I can write, I can convey myself in a message, even if it's a text message. I feel like I'm better suited. So I think my interest in the blog have just come from what's happening in my own life, and that's been the outlet of what's going on with me, rather than just shouting from rooftops.
Do you find that it was more difficult to write as a person once you came out versus your anonymous blogs that you had in the past?
It definitely was. I remember creating a separate Instagram. I wanted to keep it very separate. I wanted to, still have my own personal life, but still put myself out there. And I was praying that none of my real life friends would find it. But of course, when you link it on Facebook, your Instagram account, it's open for everybody, and everybody's liking it and following it, and you're cringing. And so it was definitely a transition time, and the best thing about it is I have like really encouraging friends. So I started it right before I started at the School of Public Health, and my public health friends were just so supportive. My photographer is actually a former classmate who has like side photography this, so she's encouraging and always saying great things. So I think that's brought me out of my shell, is the encouragement from friends that they like the content and they relate to it and they enjoy seeing it. But yeah, I do kind of like putting it out there for strangers and just leaving it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you find that your style of writing has changed since you had to, since you've kind of put yourself out there?
Yeah, I think I started off and wanted to be very kind of in that student role. I wanted to kind of like link to articles and do what was current. And I just found that, one, it was a lot of extra work on me when being a student, but I wanted something that was really authentic. I wanted to show health promotion and being healthy and kind of embodying all of this from someone who's done so much schooling in a really organic and real way. And sure, that's not always easy, and it's not, you know, always these fruit bowls and you know, living in a beautiful apartment, but it's just trying your best, and that you slip up, but it's putting the effort in every day.
And I know you come from a healthcare background, obviously. However, you had to deal with a lot of individuals in your life that have faced depression, anxiety, and a lot of the aspects that are plaguing large sections of society.
Yeah. So I'm actually born and raised in Yellowknife. So way up in the Northwest Territories, and it's dark the majority of the time, in winter, of course. So growing up, we had those vitamin D lamps in our house. We were very aware that the weather could affect us. And I remember I always felt depressed. I always felt symptoms. I always felt off. But I had a really good childhood friend that was diagnosed in junior high, was on medication. She would not come to school. She couldn't get out of bed. And I just thought, depression can't be that common. She can't have it, and I can't have it at the same time. So I really just doubted my experiences. I thought, if my friend has it, then you know, what are the chances? But it's something that I've had so many friends experience, and then going throughout university, had more friends reach out to me and getting to open up to them, and finally getting to a point where I need to seek out medication. And I've done everything. I've done the exercising, I've done psychologists, I've done it all, but finding that medication could really work for me, that was a really empowering point in my life, but also being able to know that the people around me are still struggling as well, so sharing that story.
And when did you really accept that you had depression? So it sounded a little bit like you were initially doubting whether or not, what are the odds? So when did that actually come to the mind that you're accepting this?
I feel like it's been a long time coming. Felt it really early on, and we were talking earlier, I've always felt kind of different and kind of in this weird state. So felt it really early on, doubted it. And again, living in the north, you have a lot of people who stay and a lot of people who move. So my family was the one who stayed, and I've gone through so many friends, so many families moving away, and got to a really, really low point in grade 11. And, you know, went to my parents and was like, this is it. And I'm at a tough point. And medication wasn't really on the table at that point, but got to move away. I got to build up the family, got to play hockey in the south in Alberta. And so that was a huge turning point in the environment to kind of helped me. Went back to university afterwards. Again, tough points. Tried different things. Tried coping other ways. Tough points. And it was the summer before grad school where I knew I had to go to a doctor and really find an answer. Really find a way that could help me cope with grad school.
What was your journey like in the healthcare system when you finally were ready to do this?
I've had both ends of the spectrums. I've left so many doctors' offices crying, feeling like I was imagining things, like it wasn't that serious, thinking I had one thing and just kind of leaving doctor's office and not feeling like anything got accomplished. I've also had some really great ones along the way. So when I first got on medication, I had a really great family doctor out of the University of Calgary who put me on medication. It was fantastic. And then I moved to Edmonton for school and was terrified to go back with the doctors I experienced there, and didn't renew my prescription, which was really a tough point. I thought I could just tough it out, and I wouldn't suggest that. So
you realized at that point that you do need that help, you need that that support. And I think that's something that a lot of healthcare professionals actually, we're trying to be taught more and more to focus on the patient and to give that individualized approach. Unfortunately, a lot of individuals such as yourself face healthcare professionals that, because our healthcare system is so rush, that you don't always get that attention, and you don't always get that extra step that they need to take in order to make sure that they feel safe, the individual gets the right treatment.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then what point are you, I'm assuming that you're at a good point in your life now that you've gotten out of.
So was able to move back to Calgary, and from the support of my boyfriend, was able to physically take me to the doctor and get back on medication that, just really helps me be able to function enough to support my health beyond that through exercise and drinking water and sleep and all that.
So what are some of the things then, sort of alluding to what you just said, what are some of the things that you use to maintain your mental health and to stay upbeat and stay as happy and cheery as you are?
It's so many different things. So I always teach about the dimensions of wellness, and there's 6 dimensions, and some people say there's 9, but it's things like going outside, it's things like being with friends, it's, drinking water and eating and sleep and those basics. But I've really found the connection to yoga as well. So I've done yoga for 10 years and was always, as a way to stay flexible and limber for hockey. But now I've found like that mind-body connection. So I'm doing my yoga teacher training in the new year, and just trying to live out all of those dimensions, not just stay in the physical with working out, but making sure I'm taking care of all aspects.
So what did you really learn about yourself then throughout this entire journey as a person, as an individual, as a personality sort of thing?
I'm still learning. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to figure out myself. So I kind of am able to figure out new things every year. So I got a tattoo a little while back, and it was one on my feet that it was an important part of my life. And then kind of the last second, I decided to get my Myers-Briggs on my finger as a tattoo as well. So my Myers-Briggs is this personality inventory, and there's 16, and it kind of lets you know a little bit about yourself. And I did the test in university, and it was a huge game changer in just figuring out kind of how I function and how I take things into the world and how I react. And I feel from my heart, and I'm also introverted, but I can be extroverted. I can really be passionate about things. So doing that inventory, as well as like every year, I'm trying to find something. So I'm trying to chisel away at myself and figure out how I can work best as a person, but still learning and still growing.
That's really cool. And I don't know as much about this, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't either. So can you tell us a bit more about the Myers-Briggs?
Yeah, so there's so many out there. There's a colors test, and but I really enjoy Myers-Briggs. So if you've ever taken a psychology class, they can bring it up. So it's 16 personality inventories. So you get a 4-letter word at the end. So there's 2 options per letter. So you're either introverted or extroverted. You either have intuition, or you're more of a sensor, you're a thinker or a feeler, or you're a judge or a perceiver. So whatever combination of letters you get kind of is your Myers-Briggs. There's just so much information out there about how in-depth that can be, and maybe what job you'd be best suited for, and who you'd be as a parent or as a partner. It's so cool, and seeing my positive traits and my weaker traits, and seeing how some were both positive and weak points in my life was really interesting. And so I try and I have so many notebooks where I've made lists and said, okay, I'm gonna work on these. And but I think it's just that awareness piece again. It's being aware of what your weak traits are, and being aware of your positive ones and trying to build off of those. But it's
So is it something that your body and your personality can adapt and then change over time? Or is it theory that it's more or less what you're going to be like long term?
I've heard things where you can actually grow and adapt and change, and some people are like, oh, you tattooed it, it's not set in stone. But I have a couple other tattoos. I've always gone by the belief that if it's right in the moment, it's a perfect piece of that history in your life. So I got mine on my ring finger actually just to remember that is truly the essence of me, at least at that point in my life. And I feel like I've maybe grown in some places. I'm a better communicator, which is one of my weaknesses. But I've always enjoyed it. I think even if I do grow and change, it'll be an amazing reminder of the person I was, because we always grow and hopefully evolve into a better state. It's cool to remember who we used to be.
And I know this might be somewhat private, but what are some of your characteristics based on this test that you learned specifically?
I think I was mentioning before, I'm like a better communicator written than verbally. I hold really high standards, mostly for myself, but that can also cause me to judge others. Lots of like very like a hard worker, but like too hard, can't say no kind of thing.
So a lot of relatable things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The whole thing's relatable. Like do the test, figure out yourself, and you'll be like, whoa, like this is who I am. And yeah, I really enjoy that. I should go back.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm curious to find out exactly what I am too, because I think that it's a good journey.
Everyone needs to do it. Before you get married, before you like start a job, everyone needs to find out their Myers-Briggs.
Maybe I'll find out that the job I'm doing right now, I should switch out.
Maybe.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you sharing with us. It is quite private. I understand about talking about yourself, and I appreciate you coming up with us here and then letting us know about your story that you've had, your struggles with depression. Did you have any other goals or any other? Sorry, I said goals, but what I mean is, did you have any other advice that you had for listeners at all?
I would just say I never loved sharing, especially some people in my inner circle. I didn't love talking about this part of my life, thinking it made me different, but really there's so many of the same story of mine weave into other people's stories as well. So I would just say find somebody to connect with, share your own story, listen to somebody else's story, find some connection. That's a great part of our health, and just know you're not alone in any of this.
Yeah. Use your weaknesses as your strength.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to let the listeners know where they can find you on your blog?
Yeah, so it is masteringhealth.co.co. Couldn't get .com. What can you do? And on Instagram and Twitter, it's @masteringhealth.
Excellent. Thank you very much again, Megan. We really appreciate your time with us.
Yeah.
And then we hope to have a chance to speak to you in the future again.
For sure.
Megan has an incredible story to share with all of us. What I found extremely valuable was Megan's advice to never stop learning more about yourself and connecting with others. Megan hit a critical point in her life where she realized she needed help. She empowered herself and continues to do so as she learns more about her strengths and weaknesses. If you want to check out Megan's blog and learn more about her passion, go to www.masteringhealth.co. That's it. Thanks again. Please subscribe and leave a comment if there's anything specific you guys want to see.